Some researchers are now warning of levels of heavy metals in some dark chocolate bars. Some researchers are now warning of levels of heavy metals in some dark chocolate bars. Dark chocolate has long been touted as having health benefits. We've been told it can improve our moods, decrease inflammation, and even increase blood flow. But some researchers are now warning of heavy metals in some of our favorite dark chocolate bars. Consumer Reports tested 28 dark chocolate bars, including Dove, Ghirardelli, Lindt, and Hershey's, for lead and cadmium. For 23 of those bars, just an ounce of chocolate violates California's maximum allowable dose levels for lead or cadmium, which are 0.5 micrograms and 4.1 micrograms per day, respectively, the publication said. The typical chocolate bar loosely ranges from 1.5 ounces to 3.5 ounces. California's limitations set by Proposition 65 are some of the most protective in the country, according to Consumer Reports. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration offers more flexible recommendations for daily lead intake at 2.2 micrograms for children and 8.8 micrograms for women of childbearing age. Trader Joe's The Dark Chocolate Lover's Chocolate 85% Cacao had higher levels in both lead and cadmium than California's limitations. Trader Joe's did not immediately respond to a request for comment. The National Confectioners Association, which represents chocolate manufacturers including Hershey's, Lindt, and Godiva, reached a settlement in 2018 with As You Sow, a group that advocates enforcement of Proposition 65. The settlement established concentration levels for both lead and cadmium that require warning labels if surpassed. The association maintains that the industry has adhered to the levels established by the settlement. The products cited in this study are in compliance with strict quality and safety requirements, and the levels provided to us by Consumer Reports testing are well under the limits established by our settlement, Association spokesperson Christopher Gindelsberger said. Food safety and product quality remain our highest priorities, and we remain dedicated to being transparent and socially responsible. Johns Hopkins medicine toxicologist Andrew Stolbach told NPR that metals are set to be very conservative to account for people with higher risk due to their age and other medical conditions. When the chocolate is consumed in moderate amounts, the lead and cadmium levels are nothing to worry about, he says. The safety levels for lead and cadmium are set to be very protective, and going above them by a modest amount isn't something to be concerned about, he said. If you make sure that the rest of your diet is good and sufficient in calcium and iron, you protect yourself even more by preventing absorption of some lead and cadmium in your diet. Significant exposure to cadmium can cause lung cancer, birth defects, and other reproductive harm, while significant exposure to lead can slow children's growth and development and damage the brain and nervous system. But the Consumer Reports tests proved it is also possible for dark chocolate bars to maintain low levels of heavy metals, as 5 of the 28 bars had levels of lead and cadmium agreeable with California's limitations. The settlement between Confectioners Association and As You Sow, an organization that promotes corporate social responsibility, required both parties to undertake a multi-year study to understand the root causes of heavy metals in chocolate and strategies to reduce these levels. The report discussing findings from a 3-year study was released in August. The researchers found that cadmium in cocoa beans naturally comes from the soil and is directly transported to the beans by the cocoa tree. Lead contamination occurs post-harvest, when wet cocoa beans are exposed to soil and dust during the drying, fermenting, and transport phases. The industry should communicate to farmers the value of implementing better agricultural practices related to reducing wet cocoa bean contact with soil during fermentation and drying, wrote Timothy On, co-author of the report who manages food safety at Lloyd's Register. Drying wet beans in direct contact with the ground, road surfaces, and concrete patios should be discontinued as a farmer-controllable PB reduction activity. Reducing wet cocoa bean contact with soil and dust can lower lead in chocolate by 10% to more than 25%, according to co-author and toxicologist Michael DeBartolomeez. Other ways to reduce heavy metal levels include blending high cadmium content cocoa beans with those with lower levels, identifying areas of contamination, and conducting more robust testing, according to the report from As You Sow.
Elon Musk offers journalists he banned from Twitter ability to return under certain conditions. New Twitter owner Elon Musk offered several of the journalists he banned from the social media website earlier this week the ability to return to the platform if they deleted the tweets he falsely claimed shared his exact real-time location. The move from Musk came after he posted an unscientific poll on his personal Twitter account that concluded Friday night with 59% of participants voting in favor of immediately restoring the accounts. Musk had on Thursday banned CNN's Donnie O'Sullivan, The New York Times' Ryan Mack, and The Washington Post's Drew Harwell. Independent progressive journalist Aaron Rupert, former MSNBC host Keith Olbermann, and insider columnist Lynette Lopez were also banned. The people have spoken, Musk wrote Friday night after his poll, pledging to restore the accounts he had falsely accused of sharing his exact real-time location. But while the accounts were made publicly viewable on Saturday, the journalists were restricted from posting until they removed the tweets Musk had claimed violated Twitter's rules. In the past, Twitter had required the removal of violative tweets for users to regain access to their accounts. But the journalists in this case strongly dispute that their posts violated Twitter rules. O'Sullivan and Harwell both told CNN on Saturday morning that they had not agreed to delete the tweets and instead selected an option to appeal the decision. "It's journalism," Harwell wrote in his appeal, a copy of which was provided to CNN. Harwell added that his tweet did not include a link to anyone's private information. Rupert told CNN that he had ultimately decided to simply remove the tweet and move on from the episode, though he described the whole affair as "kinda absurd obviously." It was not clear what Mack had chosen to do. The accounts of Olbermann and Lopez notably remained banned and had still not even been made publicly available by late Saturday morning. Musk had falsely claimed on Thursday that the journalists had violated Twitter's new doxing policy by sharing his exact real-time location, amounting to what he described as assassination coordinates. The suspension of the journalists had been met with swift condemnation by news organizations, the American Civil Liberties Union, United Nations, Democratic members of Congress and others. The move marked a significant attempt by Musk, a self-described free speech absolutist, to wield his unilateral authority over the platform to censor the press. A CNN spokesperson previously said on Thursday that the network had asked Twitter for an explanation over O'Sullivan's suspension and it would reevaluate our relationship based on that response. Other reporters suspended Thursday had also recently written about the plane tracking account, which Twitter permanently suspended the day before as it rolled out a new policy prohibiting the sharing of live location data. The move to ban the jet tracking account marked a sharp reversal of Musk's vow to leave the account online as part of his commitment to free speech.
Father of Highland Park parade shooting suspect charged with reckless conduct. The father of the Highland Park, Illinois, parade shooting suspect has been charged in connection with helping his son obtain a firearm and ammunition, officials announced Friday. Robert E. Crimo Jr. was charged with 7 counts of reckless conduct, one for each person killed in the July 4th parade attack, Lake County State's Attorney Eric Reinhart said. Prosecutors said Crimo Jr. helped his son, Robert E. Crimo III, purchased the AR-15 style weapon used in the shooting by sponsoring his son's firearm owner's identification application. The shooting suspect was 21 at the time of the attack, but 19 when he bought the semi-automatic rifle and ammunition, they said. Authorities have said he sponsored the application despite previous threats by his son to harm himself and loved ones. Under state law, gun purchasers 18 to 20 generally must have a parent endorse the buy, prosecutors said. He knew what he knew, and he signed the form anyway, Reinhardt said at a news conference Friday. This was criminally reckless. An attorney for Crimo Jr., George M. Gomez, said in a statement that the charges are baseless. This decision should alarm every single parent in the United States of America who, according to the Lake County State's attorney, knows exactly what is going on with their 19-year-old adult children and can be held criminally liable for actions taken nearly 3 years later, Gomez said. These charges are absurd and we will fight them every step of the way. Crimo Jr. turned himself into Highland Park Police Friday afternoon. Following a hearing Saturday, he was released on a $50,000 cash bond. He must abide by a curfew, surrender all firearms as well as his FOID card, and cannot purchase new weapons. He bought everything on his own, and they're registered to him, the father said. They make me like I groomed him to do all this. Crimo Jr. faces up to a 3-year sentence if convicted. Authorities allege the shooting suspect climbed to the top of a Highland Park building, used that elevated spot as a sniper's nest, and opened fire on people attending the town's July 4th parade. Along with the 7 killed, a dozen more people were injured. Under the purchase affidavit signed by the father, Crimo Jr. agreed to be liable for any damages resulting from the minor applicant's use of firearms or firearm ammunition, authorities have noted. Crimo Jr. is a former Highland Park mayoral candidate who has voiced support for Second Amendment protections. He co-signed that FOID application in December 2019, 3 months after police visited the family's home. A relative reported that Crimo had threatened to kill family members, Illinois State Police have said. A grand jury indicted the shooting suspect in July on 117 charges, including 21 counts of first-degree murder, 48 counts of attempted murder and 48 counts of aggravated battery. He has pleaded not guilty to the charges.